It's Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Thank you for being with me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. All eyes on Jerry. You can see it here. This is going to be very close to us, especially in Antigua and Barbuda for late today and tonight. Rain is a big concern out of this. I want to show you that. We'll go island by island with the rain and even some of the winds as we get tropical storm conditions. This spot here near the northern Bahamas, a big system is going to start to develop, kind of a sprawly system, not really tropical in nature, but that's going to lift up through the east coast of the United States. I want to show you the winds and the big impacts out of that. Then we swing over here. I've been watching the rain from overnight parts of Mexico, as I've been highlighting really over the last few weeks. This here is Priscilla. This here should become Raymond. Both are going to continue with some heavy rain parts of Mexico in a flash flood event for parts of the southwest U.S. So we'll go step by step in this video, and thank you for taking the time to subscribe. So if I have to put out additional updates, you'll get those first. All right, looking closer, mentioned the heavier rain parts of Central America back through Mexico, scattered rain elsewhere. Haiti, we've had some showers and storms overnight, but all eyes on Jerry. You see that white shading? That's telling me there's taller clouds. They shoot way the heck up in the air. In taller clouds, there's more rain. Makes sense. It could hold more moisture. That's what's going to be moving into us in the northeastern Caribbean. But all the way down through Trinidad and Tobago, we'll see some of the kind of the tail of this system with some rain and storms, which I'll highlight for us in this video. So right now, the good news is this is still a sheared system, which means, simply put, it's not super organized. I mentioned a lot of rain in it. That is the biggest concern, but it hasn't blossomed into a hurricane or anything like that because of the wind shear knocking off some of the cloud tops. The center is sitting right about here. The heaviest weather's off to the east. The shear, the winds up above our heads, are kind of pushing everything off toward the east of the center. It's not very organized, can't really wrap around, so that is a good thing. The bad thing is that this is going to be moving right into the northeastern Caribbean as a whole as we work our way into late today, tonight, early tomorrow. And again, rain is a big threat. We don't even need a name system to cause huge issues with rain, but we do have a name system. We have Jerry. So with that, the forecast I've been showing you the last few days is holding right on track. I got you covered right here. So we are in action mode. British, U.S. Virgin Islands, down through Dominica for tropical storm impacts. In particular, Antigua and Barbuda, the system could be sitting right overhead as we work our way into tonight. Again, heaviest weather to the east of the center, but this could come right in on top of us, very close to Anguilla and St. Martin over toward St. Bart's. St. Martin, I know there were some water lines yesterday. I've been appreciating the feedback. Thank you for watching. In this sector here, again, some strong winds will be a potential, roughly around 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles per hour, late today, tonight, early tomorrow. So we'll get some strong winds, but the flooding and the mudslide threat, that is the bigger concern. Now with this map, Puerto Rico, for example, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, it's not that we're not going to get some rain, just the cores over here. That's where we're taking some action for those true tropical storm impacts, but heavier rain will be elsewhere. And you can see here, Anegada swinging back toward Antigua, Barbuda. See even this black shading in here, 150 millimeters of rain. Now I think the models are a little bit off, and you know I don't just look at the models, those are computers. I look at what's going on in the environment. I think this is going to be a little bit closer, which means we could get some totals, especially Barbuda, for example, of about 20 centimeters, right? So I think this slug of the heaviest rain will be a bit closer. Giving you the heads up, I am concerned, highly concerned about the rain in this. So Sebastian, St. Kitts Nevis, Montserrat, Guadalupe, it won't be all night stuff, but tonight at times bands of rain working in. And then I mentioned even eventually over toward Puerto Rico, keeping an eye on Martinique, St. Lucia, we'll see some areas of rain, but this is just the core. But I think that rain, the totals will be a little bit higher. I'll expand out the rain totals to cover Barbados South in just a moment. Now you can see here we have tropical storm watches that are out. I believe they should be switched to warnings. I don't know why they're not warnings at this point. We're not going to get the strongest of winds. And again, the winds, the heaviest winds, are to the east of the center, and that's good news. I like to pass along good news. Again, it's not a hurricane at this point. It's not super organized, but that rain threat and even some gusty winds is that high concern late today into tomorrow. And you can see how the models bring this very close, even closer to yesterday, and I believe it could be even closer. Most of the bigger models, the European model, the American model, have the center of this roughly about 50 to 60 miles or anywhere from about 80 to 100 kilometers just off of Barbuda. But some of what I've been seeing, kind of where it is, could have it right on top of us. But with that said, again, because it is not organized, can't stress this enough, that sounds scary, and I want to keep everything in perspective. Even if the center is sitting over Barbuda, of course, that would mean heavier rain. I've been covering that. The heaviest weather is off to the east into the water. So that part is good, that everything hasn't kind of wrapped around the center of this. The modeling, I believe there'll be a little bit shift closer. You see some of the models do take it over Barbuda, most just to the northeast. Either way, the forecast is going to hold. A few kilometers, a few miles can make a big difference in some of our islands for where that rain goes. But as far as the winds go, that's all going to hold. We'll all get some of the gusty winds at times in the northeastern Caribbean of about 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles per hour. Now, most of these models have this as a tropical storm over the next few days. This is 1 day, 2 days out, 3 days out, holding as a tropical storm. But winds right now are about 65 miles per hour in the center of this. So that's about 100 to about 105 kilometers an hour. So we have a strong tropical storm that will be working in, and it's starting to hit some of the warm water. You see right in through here where it is. Water temperatures 30 degrees Celsius, 86, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why there are now those taller clouds. So even though there's wind shear, which is a good thing for us, it's feeling those warm water temperatures. That's the fuel, and that's adding some extra rain to it. And that's why we have that rain threat, that big rain threat for us in the northeastern Caribbean. So let's go close here, and I want to show you the winds after this. Here's a look at the American model with this, and you can see this is later today. Here's your time frame, 2 p.m. Heaviest stuff sitting over the water, but we start to get brushed by some showers and some thunderstorms. That'll be a potential as well out ahead of this. An isolated tornado or water spout will be a potential water spout tornado over water by tonight, this evening, 9 o'clock. You see the core of this right here where you see the brighter colors. That's the heavier rain, gusty winds in that as well. But watching the on and off rain. Again, some of our islands, maybe not a whole lot, while a neighboring island could get some of the tropical storm conditions. That's how it's going to go with this. And you can see the center is actually sitting here. This is what I'm talking about. The heaviest stuff is just to the east. By tomorrow morning, as this is very close to Anguilla, the center, south of it, we'll get those rain bands at times working in Barbados, St. Lucia. Just pick your spot. Dominica, Saba, Statia, St. Kitts and Nevis. You see Puerto Rico here, the action staying off toward the east for the most part, but close to the British and U.S. Virgin Islands where we're in action mode. As the center of this is here, you see how it's not really wrapping around it. There's the heaviest rain, but by tomorrow afternoon, we get some of those pockets of rain and gusty winds. So seeing repeat areas of these rain bands, and that's why we have that mudslide threat. We're going to have those higher rivers depending on your terrain and everything that's going on around you. And that flood threat will continue right through our Friday night into Saturday morning. This all lifts to the north, but still some leftover moisture even by the time we get into Saturday evening. A closer look at the winds, and you can see how it is not organized. This is by later today, 2 o'clock today. Here's Guadeloupe, Dominica. We swing back toward Barbuda, Antigua right here, and you can see the center right here. Here's some of that red shading, which would have winds of 110 kilometers an hour, 70 miles per hour. So it is already close to hurricane status. There's the center of it there, but notice west of the center, not a whole lot. Near the center and east, that's where some of the stronger winds are as we work our way into tonight. But as it starts to lift very close to Antigua, Barbuda, and eventually Anguilla, St. Martin, and St. Bart's, the center could be overhead. Again, I believe this will be a little bit closer to the models by tomorrow morning. South will have some of those winds gusting to about 80 kilometers an hour and wrapping around it as well. But look to the west, Puerto Rico, for example, British U.S. Virgin Islands, not a lot as far as the winds go. And then by the time we get deeper into tomorrow, there's the center of it, and just south of it, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's, still some gusty winds through the day tomorrow. Then this will kind of lift tomorrow night, more up to the north. Still that chance of some gusty winds, but you can see on this map how the stronger winds are off to the east of the center, and that is a good thing for us. So even if the center moves very, very close, which I believe it will, and it could actually move right on top of us, the heaviest weather for the most part, will be sitting over water. We're still going to get some heavier weather, but it is good that this system is not super organized. But that threat of rain is substantial. That's why I'm repeating that. So we're going to watch out for that. Now, the European model showing the same thing. Here's just a different vantage point. Then I want to cover the other systems in the east coast of the U.S. with this. There's some of the heavier rain, southern Mexico with what's developing down here, watching that. But the European model showing a very similar scenario as the American model. Just to show you both of these as we work our way out in time. This is tonight and early tomorrow. The center will be very close to Antigua and Barbuda, and watching the heavier rain. And as this lifts to the north, those bands of rain on the south side of it just draw in more of that moisture. Then by the time we get into later tomorrow, this starts to move away. Here's Bermuda. There's some of the rain and storms on the south side of it still as we get into tomorrow night. And then we start to watch this near the Bahamas, northern Bahamas. Our rain chances going up. Southeast U.S. Here's that new developing storm system. It may not be tropical in nature. There is a chance it could be, but this is going to be a big sprawly system with higher impacts. Bermuda, looks like Jerry will stay to the south and east, but I'm going to watch it carefully because, again, I've seen that little shift, not with the models. I think the models are a little bit off just with watching Jerry. So we'll see how that track shakes out as we work our way into Sunday. Big coastal storm for parts of the United States, and then seeing just how close Jerry gets to Bermuda both Saturday and Sunday, according to the American or European model. But I'll show you what's going on with the east coast of the U.S. in just a moment. Now here's Jerry, and you can see it here just widening out the view. Here we are in Jamaica. Some of us have been too dry, hit or miss showers and storms. Same thing, Cuba, Cayman Islands. Still these heavy pockets, Costa Rica, Panama, as we watch Jerry. Again, this is not related to Jerry. Jerry's over here. But as I mentioned, as this lifts to the north, Grenada, St. Vincent the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, not all day stuff, but as we work our way into tomorrow, as this lifts to the north, some bands of rain will be a possibility. And there's that developing system, the Bahamas, Cuba, some of that extra rain as we pull forward into Saturday. Jerry lifts to the north, and there's the tail of it, right? Still bringing some of the rain for us in the eastern Caribbean, Costa Rica, Panama, some heavy areas of rain, spotty as we work our way from Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, and watching some of the moisture, Cuba, back through the Bahamas. Then on Sunday, what's left of Jerry will be closer to Bermuda. Still some big pockets of rain, watching that in parts of Central America, scattered elsewhere as we work our way into our Sunday forecast. Now here's a look at that second storm system, right, that will be developing. All eyes on Jerry today. Got us covered. Again, thank you for subscribing to get the alerts in case I had to put out some additional videos, and you know I will if need be. If it stays right on track, we're covered though. Watching Jerry, here's that front, and I'll show you the Atlantic region of Canada in just a moment. We'll cover all of this out here, but watching this building tomorrow. Look at this rain near the southeast U.S. in the northern Bahamas, Freeport, New Providence. Some of the extra rain, the same front that leaves the moisture here, helps steer Jerry a little bit closer up toward Bermuda. So we'll be watching that as we get down the road. Then on Saturday, look at this system, the center here, just throwing in all this moisture. High impacts, and I'll show you the winds. High impacts, North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, even Georgia. We're going to see some strong winds out of that. And then this system lifts to the north, watching Delmarva, the Chesapeake, the Tidewater area, back through Cape Cod and the islands, the Long Island Sound. The center is going to be sitting here. That is just going to continue to throw more rain and strong winds. Jersey Shore, there could be gusts 50 to 70 miles per hour. I've been mentioning for days that hurricane force gusts will be a possibility. And even on Monday, while the system tries to weaken, it's still going to throw that moisture on shore and still that onshore flow back through New England in particular all the way by Monday. And of course on Monday, watching Jerry hopefully off to the east of Bermuda. Now looking at the winds here, we get a look. Watch how this develops. This is later today, but as we work our way out in time, tomorrow, South Carolina and Georgia, that strong onshore flow right along the coast. There could be winds gusting to about 50 miles per hour, that white shading. So the white shading, winds of about 50 miles per hour, these are gusts. And then going out in time Saturday, the storm system pulls away from us in the Bahamas. You see it developing, but there are still the gusts. And look at what goes on in North Carolina. They start to get some of the gust along the Outer Banks. We're going to see those gusts of about 50 miles per hour. And then this area starts to lift up to the north. And you can see it here, the center somewhere near North Carolina on Sunday. But look at that red shading in there. I'm giving giving you the heads up. I've been doing it for days. I know this is not getting a lot of attention, but southern New England swinging back toward the mid-Atlantic, New Jersey, Delmarva, winds 50 to 70 miles per hour along the coast. And then on Monday, Cape Cod on the islands, Cape Cod Bay, watching over toward Boston and north, some of the winds still coming in out of the east at about 50 miles per hour for some of those gusts, right? And this is lasting for days. That means big coastal impacts from New England down through the mid-Atlantic, watching over toward North Carolina in particular. And again, tomorrow, parts of South Carolina and Georgia, strong winds, even coastal sections of Florida. We're going to be dealing with some beach erosion and strong winds later today into tomorrow, but this will eventually be lifting away again from Florida and the Bahamas. And there's Bermuda watching Jerry as we work our way into Sunday and Monday. Here's the big picture. Now, one spot we need to get some rain, the Atlantic region of Canada. We got a shot at that today with the front moving in. Still not enough. Now, watching over here as well, Priscilla and what could become Raymond impacting the southern coast of Mexico here. Here's this new area that's going to be developing, and there is Jerry, and you can see just how busy it is. Going out in time here, this is by tomorrow. We've got several things here as we work our way into tomorrow. This is the developing system I just showed you. The rain clears the Atlantic region of Canada, but look at this moisture pulling into parts of Southern California, northwestern Mexico, Arizona, then eventually New Mexico, as what should become Raymond lifts up toward the Baja. Still some heavier rain, but there's going to be a flash flood event sitting right in through here. Here's what's going on with Jerry and this new coastal system. If that gets a name, if it becomes tropical, it would be Karen. That's the next name on the list. But as we work our way out on Saturday into Sunday, you can see what happens here. More moisture pulling in behind Priscilla. We have Raymond, parts of Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of West Texas. A substantial flash flood event, giving you the heads up on this. And then look at all that moisture just continuing to pump in back through New England and the mid-Atlantic with those strong winds. This is a high impact system. And then some of this, we'll see how this shakes out for New Brunswick over toward Maine, and then swinging back toward Nova Scotia, even Prince Edward Island as we work our way into Monday. But look at that heavy surge of rain on Monday, moving into Arizona and New Mexico and parts of northwest sections of Mexico. A flash flood event Sunday into Monday here. So a ton going on right through the weekend into next week. Tropical storm watches are still out for parts of the Baja as this area, which is Priscilla, weakens as it moves in. But the rain, that is going to be the issue with that. Now the seas are going to be a mess, not so much the Gulf and not so much the central and western Caribbean, but of course with Jerry and then with this developing system, meters here, feet on the right hand side of your screen, and you just see how messy it is. Very similar sea situation as we had with Imelda and Umberto. The seas are going to be rocking north facing waters, coastlines. And that's where we could have some issues. And you see how those seas build. Significant issues along the coast, mid-Atlantic, even parts of New England with the flooding, coastal flooding, those high seas, and significant beach erosion. And again, those winds 50 to 70 miles per hour, parts of the mid-Atlantic of the U.S. So watching the rain, here's Freeport, for example, 3-day rain totals as this area starts to develop. We're looking at some of the 3-day rain totals that will be over 100 millimeters of rain right along the coastline. Here, we're talking about some spots 2 to about 5 inches of rain as this area starts to develop. Coastal sections of the U.S., 2 to even 8 inches of rain will be a possibility. I know that's a wide spread, but that's going to be a possibility. Scattered through here, hit or miss. We could get some downpours, parts of Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, like we had overnight, and the Dominican Republic. But really watching this with Jerry, I highlighted these higher totals, and as I mentioned, I think the heavier rain will be a little bit even closer to us. That's why I appreciate you spreading the word, sharing this information about the flood threat. It's not a mega hurricane or anything like that moving in, but this is a substantial flood threat for us, and we will get the gusty winds and the tropical storm impact safety first. That's why we're in action mode in some spots, but you can see Dominica South, even through Trinidad. Trinidad's interesting in the sense that some of us won't get a whole lot, but as we work our way into Friday and Saturday, we'll have a few spots that pick up at 100 millimeters of rain. So isolated areas of flooding, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Barbados, just Martinique north. That's where we have obviously the better chance, where Jerry is closer. Suriname, Guyana, rain chance picks up a little bit, watching Venezuela. Heavy pockets, western Panama, parts of Costa Rica, still Guatemala, parts of Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. Scattered areas of rain and storms. Gone down a little bit for us in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, but southern coastline of Mexico, upwards of 20 centimeters of rain. And here's that surge that we'll be working in, but even more rain as we work our way into Sunday and Monday in this area here, with that high flash flood threat. Parts of Arizona, New Mexico, keeping an eye on West Texas, in northwest Mexico. And then you can see here right along the coast, I mentioned some areas of 8 inches of rain or more, watching that near South Carolina, North Carolina, and then we'll see how that shakes out all the way up the coast through the mid-Atlantic, Delmarva, watching New Jersey, New York, back through Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts for some high impacts with that big coastal storm. So Jamaica, we're still looking at about a 40 to 50% chance of scattered storms. Cayman Islands, the next couple of days, a 30% chance. As all of Jerry's up to the north, Trinidad and Tobago, we're up to about a 60% chance tomorrow. Some of those kind of tail feeder bands will be around. Same thing in Barbados, especially late today, tonight, into tomorrow. Monitoring Jerry for us in Barbados. We could, and I believe will get at times, some heavy pockets of rain. We'll be watching that in Barbados, and as well back through St. Lucia, especially as we work our way into our Friday. Scattered areas of rain pick up tomorrow, even Saturday as we work our way into Grenada. And same thing, St. Vincent the Grenadines. Rain chance will be up to about 60% tomorrow. Lifting to the north, of course, that higher chance. This is mainly tonight. As we work our way into Martinique, late today, tonight, into tomorrow, watching Jerry with some heavy rain at times for us in Dominica. Same thing in Guadeloupe, especially tonight into the day tomorrow. Then we work our way through Antigua, Barbuda. Again, the center of Jerry could be right on top of Barbuda by tomorrow morning. That is a possibility. We'll have the heavier rain, gusty winds. We've made those preps. We've been in action mode for a few days for tropical storm impacts. Antigua and Barbuda, the rain, the big threat. Be mindful of that. Same thing as we work our way through St. Kitts and Nevis in Montserrat. We swing back toward Anguilla and St. Bart's, especially by late tonight, early tomorrow. Some heavy pockets of rain, gusty winds, the dangerous seas that will be with us. We'll be doing that as well. St. Martin, Saba, and Statia tonight into tomorrow. Puerto Rico, as this stays off toward the east and then eventually lifts to the north, we'll get some bands of rain. The rain chance gets enhanced. A 70% chance tomorrow, 50% chance on Saturday. Isolated flooding will be a potential. Same thing, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, especially the British Virgin Islands, slightly better chance of getting some of these rain bands that work in. Bahamas, northern Bahamas, on the flip side, a developing storm system. That's the one for the east coast of the U.S. Turks and Caicos, rain chance 30 to 40%. A 40% chance holds in the Dominican Republic, and a 50% chance in Haiti. We had some of that rain from overnight. A 50% chance. Scattered areas of rain again for us in Belize. Some of it, if you get some rain, some of it will be on the heavier side. Now, as we work our way into the weekend, Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, we need to get some rain. The rain chance is not super high. I want to caution that, but it does bump up some. There's a better chance of some spotty showers around. 40 to 50% chance in Guyana, 30 to 40% chance as we work our way through Suriname. Scattered areas of rain and storms back through Cuba leading into the weekend. The heavy pockets continue. Costa Rica and Panama, watching that as well. Parts of Nicaragua, parts of Honduras, monitoring the rivers, watching out for some of that flooding. Guatemala and El Salvador, it continues. Those very dangerous rivers in that mudslide threat. Mexico City, rain chances up to 70%. It's down a little bit, but still around Merida, Campeche, Cancun, Cozumel. Some scattered showers possible. 50 to 60% chance both in northern Colombia and swinging back toward northern Venezuela. And all eyes in Bermuda will be on what's going on with both systems. One to the east, one to the west as we get down the road. We'll see how close Jerry gets late into the weekend and early next week. So we are in action mode. Jerry gets very close, if not right on top of us. Models again a little bit off. We'll be watching out for those impacts of heavy rain, rivers, mudslides, and of course the gusty winds. I got you covered right here. Doing my best over the last week or so as we watch Jerry And then we have that big system over toward parts of the U.S., high coastal impacts from the southeast U.S. all the way through the mid-Atlantic, all the way up through New England. And we'll keep an eye on the Atlantic region of Canada. Of course, busy on the eastern Pacific side. I've been watching Mexico and the southwest U.S. for some of that flooding. Hurricane season goes all the way through the end of November. Thank you for being part of this weather community with the rain, with Jerry, and elsewhere. Please be safe. Have a good day ahead.